Welcome to See Me After Class, the podcast where we chat about anything and everything that comes to mind that we can't always cover in class. In each episode, we'll be joined by friends, faculty, staff, or enthusiasts to have an informal conversation about topics that interest us. From pop culture to current events, from hobbies to how-tos, we will cover it all with a lighthearted and fun approach. So grab your favorite yummies, get comfy, and join us as we chat and laugh our way through this thing called life. This is See Me After Class, and we are really excited that you're here. So let's get started.
Mari Carmen.
Hi.
Hi, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
I have been looking forward to this interview for quite a while.
Thank you.
Yes, I've been staying up at night and reading your book, and I can't wait to get to that. But you have such a lovely accent. Where are you from?
That's so funny because normally I don't like my accent, but people tell me that. I'm from Spain. I'm Spanish. I was born there, grew up there, even got my degrees there. I have a PhD, so I received my PhD there in Spain. And I've been living here in the U.S. for 20 years now.
Wow.
But I haven't lost my accent, so here I am.
You're so fortunate. Your accent is lovely.
Thank you.
So you got your PhD in Spain, but you've lived here for 20 years. I don't know how old you are, but you look beautiful. I was expecting you moved here as a kid.
Oh, no. Indeed, you're going to do the math. I came here when I was 30.
Okay.
30
awesome.
years old.
Did you come to Texas?
I came to Houston, yes.
Okay.
Yes, I came with a program, exchange program, where recruiters from different school districts in the country went to Spain to recruit Spanish speakers to teach in schools, so elementary schools, middle, high school. And that was the easiest way to come to the U.S. that I found.
That is so cool.
Yes, that was my dream, to come to the U.S.
Was it?
But it took me 30 years to figure out
how to do it.
Yeah.
So you dreamed about coming to the United States. Oh.
I mean, I am a language person, and I love English.
Yeah.
So the idea of being in Spain, teaching English for a few hours to high schoolers was not what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I got my bachelor's degree in English, and then I was like, okay, now what? So I did my PhD thinking that because I had to come to the States to do research, since my PhD was in African American literature, I thought, well, maybe I'll find a way to finally, go to the States to work and live. But not exactly. I mean, I heard of this program, and I thought, well, this is my way of going there.
Right.
It was a program with a J1 visa, a work visa for 3 years.
Oh, wow.
So that's what I thought, well, during those 3 years, I'll figure out.
Yeah.
So that I did that.
How do you like Texas?
So I love Texas, but I can't stand the weather. Today is a rainy day, but apparently there's a cool front coming. But this heat, constant heat.
It's hard.
It's hard.
It is
But
miserable.
it's the south, and I'm from the south of Spain, so I love the character of Southerners everywhere.
Really? Okay,
So-
what's that? What is that characteristic?
I think that there's more openness. There's more, people are very friendly, caring. That's the case in Spain.
Yeah.
And I found that to be the case here in Houston. So I love that part of Houston.
Yeah. What do you think the correlation is to being Southerners?
I think it's the weather. Maybe in other areas of the world where the weather is not warm,
Yeah.
like most of the time, of course it becomes cold, but it's not all the time cold and too cold. I think that makes people go out and enjoy the outdoors much more than people who live in a very cold weather.
Yeah.
Even though it's also true that when it's so hot as here,
Right.
being outdoors is not the best. But
True. And that can make you grumpy, the heat.
Yes.
Or at least it can make me grumpy.
Yes, but I think that the heat also is like Spanish people. They say the Spanish people are full of passion
Yeah.
and enthusiasm, and I really feel I'm that kind of person, and I like that kind of character.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's not that people here in Texas are like that, but all the time. But I feel that they are very friendly and nice with each other and kind. And I'm not saying that people in the north are not that way.
No.
But I feel that, I don't know, these outdoors kind of like nature, I like it.
Oh, yeah. And I think you definitely fit right in. You exude that passion and friendliness as well. And I know that is probably why you are a favorite professor around here on campus.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. So you mentioned your dream was always to come to the United States. Did that dream include being a teacher?
Yes. I mean, this is what I know how to do very well. I mean, I'm always learning, but since a very early age, I have always had this need to help. And my mother was a teacher. I had my grandparents were teachers, and I feel that this is my call, right? So, of course, when I was thinking of coming to the U.S., I was thinking of working, of course, making a living, and teaching was the thing that I didn't even question. The other thing my other dream was to become an author, like a published author, because also I like connecting with others and kind of like help others. And I think that reading helped me so much, or has helped me so much in my life, that being the author whose, books are read by others and me touching their lives, touching them and their lives, that was always my dream too. So teaching came with the dream, of course, but I think that related to teaching is the writing too. And because it's also related to kind of helping and reaching and touching other people's lives. So.
Right. So you've accomplished 3 of your life dreams.
It's interesting because when you think about your dream, you're young and think about your dream is like this big thing in your life.
Yes.
And then when you achieve something that you considered your dream, it doesn't feel like your dream anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So you're saying it, and indeed I had to think, you're right. Mm-hmm. But for me, it's like just living. Keep on living.
Right. Yeah. That's so interesting. Well, for those who don't know, please tell us what you teach here at Lone Star Tomball.
So I teach English.
Okay.
That is indeed part of my dream, teaching English. Yeah, now that you say that is true. It's teaching English in the country that speaks English.
Wow.
So it's not just teaching it, but also speaking it all the time.
Yeah.
So I normally teach English composition 1301, like composition 2, 1302, and then the literature classes. I'm teaching a humanity class this semester about minorities that I am enjoying a lot. But really, I mean, this is basically what I'm teaching and what I love teaching, because English, the language, literature, I mean, literature is like poetry. I read poetry, I write poetry, and I teach not just poetry, but other genres of literature, but it's my passion.
Yes.
I love that. So I'm teaching really what I love.
So do you have a philosophy when it comes to teaching?
Yes, my philosophy is really reaching to my students, helping them find a passion of learning in general.
I love that.
I know that many of my students come to my classes like with this concept that they're bad writers. They don't write well, and that is why they don't like English. Mm-hmm. They associate English with writing, spending hours with writer's blocks, and then not having a lot of grammatical issues and failing at what, they wanted to do well. And I had to work on kind of rewiring their brain and making them realize that this is not just teaching about writing. Is learning how to communicate, is learning how to connect with others, and is learning about, human beings and the world. Yeah. And all of that, and also learning. I try to design my classes so that they're not boring, and there's a lot of diverse kind of activities and ways of assessing them and readings so that they are never bored, and that motivates them to learn even better. So my philosophy is that all of my students have a goal inside themselves, but it has been kind of like buried somehow with messages that they have heard from others, or that they repeat to themselves, that they have created in their minds. And we need to kind of undig, that gold that is there. And once they find that gold, they are going to be so proud of themselves. And so, they're going to value what they have there. It's there. They just have to find it, and I'm helping them to find that goal inside.
Yeah. I can't imagine. I just bet your students love you. One of the first things you said is you want them to be passionate about learning, and I just feel like you inspire that so much.
I try to. That's my attitude.
But I was going to say that I feel like that's who you are.
Yes, and of course, I cannot control what other people kind of get from my classes or from me, and it breaks my heart if I hear that there are students that may not like me or say bad things about me. Hopefully, I don't have any of those students.
I don't believe that you
I don't have any of them.
Yes.
But and this is like even more common as I grow older, and I gain more experience. Really, I see my students as like human beings like me, and they just want to learn and advance and grow, and that's what I'm doing. I'm not their enemy at all. I'm their friend, and I am their guide, and I'm going to take them by the hand and walk them towards the way that they want to be. And hopefully that's I hope that my students love me. I love them, so.
Yeah. No, I bet they do. If you were going to give advice to any students who are watching or listening, how can they get an A in your class?
Doing the work.
Yeah.
Taking the small steps. I know that sometimes most of the times, my students and all students have complex lives. Yeah. I mean, who doesn't? But it's kind of hard to fit, school when you have other responsibilities, jobs, part-time jobs. Sometimes they work so many hours. Sometimes they have to be taking care of family members. It is really hard to try to fit also like classes. And if you enroll in 5, 6, 7 classes, it's basically impossible. So for me, it's like, choose carefully the classes. Don't be in a hurry. Okay. You have all the time of the world. Yeah. You're young, normally, and you have all the time of the world. Like, choose your classes carefully and then spend time, devote time to your classes and try to find the aspects that you enjoy in them and enjoy the process. Don't be scared of failing. We fail because we need to fail to learn and to grow. The only thing is that if you give up, that is when you don't grow. So allow yourself to fail, learn from the mistakes you make, and enjoy the process. And that is going to take you to where you want to go. And if that is an A, you will get an A. Mm-hmm. Talk to your professors. Don't be scared of asking questions. We're here to help you. indeed, if everybody knew everything, what was the point of having professors? So it is really something that is good. I love having students asking me questions. I love the students who come to my office. So don't be scared of that, and you will grow, and you will learn, and you will get your A if you want it.
That is just like great advice for life. You know,
Yes.
the small steps, enjoy the process, don't rush, accept failure as a learning experience.
Yes, you're right. For life, too. It's not just for students.
You have just given everyone such great advice. You know, have you seen that advice work for you in your life?
Indeed, it's easy to talk than to.
Right.
It's easy to kind of like say, this is what we need to do, and then apply to yourself. This is, I guess, that a lifelong kind of lesson that, at least me, I keep on learning. And I had to remind myself constantly, because the type of life we live is not healthy. We are always running everywhere. We are very focused on the result and not so much on the process. And that kind of makes us not enjoy what we're doing.
Yeah.
And, you know, even though I said you have all the time of the world, life can end in a second. So we really need to take that present moment and enjoy what we're doing at the present, and stop like getting too stressed out about the future and the future and the future. So, I am now doing things that keep me focused on the present and keep me learn. I mean, like, help me learn how to do that. And writing is one way. But, you know, repeating it to yourself and meditating and breathing, you know, and do really things that you're passionate about and stay in that moment while you are doing them. That help you kind of, you know, remember constantly that, okay, stay in the present, don't rush, enjoy the process, all these things that I'm telling my students. And I tell my students constantly too.
Good, yeah.
To remind them, because I
Sure.
know that I had to remind myself. So it's a
Right.
way of reminding myself, but also reminding them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's such fabulous advice. Thank you for telling me how you practice living in the moment. So good. I need the reminder. So
Yes, and it's a constant lesson that we need to be practicing.
yeah,
It's like in everything, like writing, and, you know, I tell my students writing doesn't come like miraculously, like out of nothing. You have to practice it, but you have to also practice like the skill of being in the present,
Right.
until you master it, because it's difficult, and you don't master it if you don't practice it like on a daily basis.
good point. Good point. Okay, well, you keep talking about your writing, and I'm so excited to talk about that. So I feel like I can't keep it in anymore. So you, Mari Carmen, wrote a beautiful, personal, intimate book of poetry called Swimming Not Drowning. I encourage everyone to get a copy. Tell us the significance of that title.
Well, thank you for your words, nice words about my book. It is an intimate book, and believe it or not, it was inspired by students here at Lone Star College.
No.
So I began writing in 2008 when I was going through some kind of personal crisis. And I found out that writing poetry, I mean, I have written all my life, but poetry in particular, I began to write in 2008. And when I realized is that every time that I had some issue that I didn't know how to handle with or how to deal with, if I put it in a poem, or I try to write a poem about it, it helped me quite a lot, because poetry is very concise. And like giving it shape and putting a limit to all those chaotic thoughts that I had in my mind that were giving me a lot of anxiety, and you know, I felt that my life was out of control. Like putting it in words and giving it shape and being limited in the kinds of words that I was putting on written form helped me feel better.
Yeah.
So I began to do that as a practice, and that was my beginning writing poetry. So along the years, I was writing more and more. I was also forming myself as a writer. I was going to workshops given by well-known poets. I can mention like Tony Hoagland. I went to one of his workshops, and I really thought I was incredible. I grew and learned a lot, and there were many poems coming from that workshop. And I was doing that with Stanford, at Stanford University, taking online courses of poetry. So I came up with a lot of poems, and many of them were addressing, moments where I felt down. I felt a lot of anxiety. I felt desperation, like depression. That is a theme that I go to a lot. So in my classes, I use a lot of works of literature to bring up or talk about current issues or topics in my argument classes or in my literature classes. So I had constantly students after my classes come to me and thank me because I was exposing everybody, and I was talking about issues that had to do with bipolar, depression, anxiety, with I would say voices. I was giving a voice to people who were talking about issues that were not very much spoken about.
Yeah.
So these students came to me thanking me for bringing up these topics through literature, gave me the idea that, oh my gosh, there's so many people, and especially young people, who are going through these mental issues, and they are silent because there's still some kind of stigma in our society that if you have a mental problem, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
And we don't want to, talk to you, or you're weird. So I wanted to kind of give a voice to all those students and all those people outside of the academia who feel that having mental issues is wrong, and kind of let them know that is something as normal to have as, diabetes or heart problems or high cholesterol. It is something that we need to be more familiar with, we need to talk more about, and we need to normalize more in our society so that these people don't feel alone. Because it's something that makes you feel very alone. And I'm saying this because I have gone through that. I have suffered from anxiety, I think that all my life, but depression also.
Yeah.
Bad depression where you are in bed and you don't want to move, and someone has to take you to the doctor and see what they can do with you because you are not functioning at all. I have reached that point 3 times in my life. It's not a fun place to be.
Yeah.
And we need to have the resources. And if we don't talk about what is, happening to us because we are embarrassed or ashamed of talking about it, or we think that we're going to be criticized or be rejected, we're not going to receive the help that we need. So I decided to write my first book about these topics, so that when people read it, they say, "Oh my gosh, I'm not alone."
Yeah.
Other people go through the same issues, and you are not also. There's nothing wrong with you, and you can function, with a mental issue. You just need to know how to, learn strategies and receive the support of others. So again, first step is to be able to speak about it without any shame and any feeling that we're going to be rejected.
Wow.
So that was the inspiration,
Yes.
those conversation with students that felt that someone was bringing up these topics that they felt so embarrassed to talk about. And we were talking about those topics in the classroom.
That thank you so much for sharing that with us. That's thank you so much for sharing that. Tell me about your writing process. I hear this, you had struggles of your own and you used it as a way to grow and help yourself. Like, how does that turn into like this beautifully packaged book? Tell us about your process.
So teaching full-time and teaching an English class where there's a lot of writing that you have to read and grade, that is very time-consuming. So it is writing. So it's not that I can devote my full life to writing, but writing is a necessity for me. So especially when I'm having times where my anxiety is very strong and I'm very stressed out, my way of venting is like writing about it and writing it in the form of a poem. So I find the time to write. Sometimes I write very often. Sometimes I spend maybe a month not writing anything and I feel bad about it. But I try to force myself to write, even if it is the weekends. One Saturday evening, I sit down and I work on a poem. It would be ideal to write a little bit every day, and that is what people advise you to do, but I find that not necessarily the case, like what happens to me in particular. But when I was writing my book, I was on a sabbatical leave.
Okay.
So I indeed... I wanted to devote my sabbatical to writing this particular book. And I was a little bit scared at the beginning. I thought, well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to write, if I'm going to be inspired, every day. Well, that is something that I learned and that makes me feel good because I know that in the future or when I retire, in 100 years, I know that I can do that. I woke up every single day with a plan. I'm going to write a poem today about this topic that I had already thought about. Or I am going to work on this poem that I wrote 3 years ago, but I had to polish and I had to kind of make better. And I did that.
Okay.
And indeed, I had a lot of poems written in the past that I was going to use in the book. But I wrote also many new poems, during my sabbatical leave. And I didn't run out of ideas, and I always had a form in my mind. For me, I had to have the topic and a form in my mind. Not exactly a closed form like a sonnet or a pantoum. No, I'm thinking about, I want to write like stanzas of 3 lines. Or I want like the poem to have to begin in the left margin, but then the next stanza will go to the right margin. And this is because, I'm thinking like the rationality of that particular form connected to the content.
Yes.
So once I have that, I sit down and write. And it comes. The poem writes itself.
Yeah.
And I realized that the more I wrote, the more ideas I had, and the better the poems came. And then I was enrolled at that time in a course of poetry, online course of poetry, and I brought the poems to that course. They were workshopped. A lot of ideas came, and then I worked again on my poem. I edited with the ideas, the feedback that I had received. So I don't have like a routine in writing normally at that time. That whole semester, it was the COVID semester.
Okay.
And I was surprised how I could, when COVID hit, like continue concentrating and working on my book. Because, COVID kind of like this upset everything and disturb everything. I mean, it was like you had a plan and suddenly you don't have any plan anymore because, the kids are at school, you don't go to school anymore. I didn't have to go to school because I was on a sabbatical, but my son and my husband had to, stay at home, like meals I had to plan, like things that I had not planned before, I had to plan that time. So, but my plan was so good and I had created already, this was around March, COVID was around March, so January, February, and the beginning of March, I had been working constantly on creating a routine for writing, and I kept on with that routine, and it worked very well. And even, after that sabbatical, this was 2020, of course, I went back to teaching, and I have been writing a lot, to the point that I have a second book of poetry coming.
Oh, that's great.
So, because I've been writing so much, so every time I feel the time, I write. I sit down and write, and I do the same. I have that idea, I write, and it comes.
It's so interesting because what I hear you saying is you set a plan and a routine, which is kind of like discipline, but then this creativity showed up every time.
Yes, and the more you do it, the more creativity shows up, believe it or not.
You wouldn't, sometimes I hear people say, to be a great artist or writer, you have to be sad and you have to be depressed. And while you did touch on some of that, it also sounded like you were in a good place when you were putting this together.
Yeah, I like all the poems. All the poems that I write comes from inside me. I cannot write about something that I cannot even connect. I can write about experiences that other people have, but I have to find the commonality, something that I connect with related to that experience, and then I can write about it. So it doesn't have to be a negative feeling or a negative experience. I write also about positive topics and experiences that I go through that are not necessarily negative. It's just that writing about what is negative or what I'm going through that is negative helps me cope with it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that all the points that I write are negative or that I don't write any positive poems. And not all the poems that I write that are negative are publishable, Some of them, I just write them
for you,
for me, and that's it. But writing definitely makes me understand why I have certain emotions that make me calmer. Because I have that understanding.
Yeah. It's almost like akin to journaling in a way.
Yes.
But
yes,
the structure.
The thing is that the structure is what differentiates writing for yourself and writing as a craft.
Okay.
So I have learned, so at the beginning I wrote for myself. That's it. When I began to take courses and understand a lot about the craft of poetry, there is this kind of two steps. So I write first whatever comes because I need to put it out there because it helps me. But then with my intellect, I go back to what I have written and I tweak stuff. I tweak words, lines, I add things, take others out. So I turn the poem into a work of art. It's sometimes hard because you're too connected to what you have written, so you don't want to change it or discard certain parts. But I have learned that you need to, if you want to make it publishable, something that you can put out in the world and other people can appreciate not only the ideas but also the craft, you need to go and with your intellect, work on it. And it is that part of your, when you take something that is so emotional, but you work on it from the intellect, it also helps you kind of like with the emotional part, because you are forgetting about the emotional when you're using your mind to make it like more, like better looking or better crafted. Mm-hmm. So it also helps with that.
Yeah, because in a way, you're working back through it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think, would you read us one of your poems?
Yes.
I think this would be a great time to now we've heard about your process and your feelings, and so, yeah.
So thank you for asking me to read a poem. I was thinking about reading if possible, and one of the poems in my book describes very well what anxiety is.
Okay.
It is, my book has 3 parts. In one, I kind of like explore what are the storms, that present themselves in front of us in our lives, because the whole book is a metaphor with, wild waters and us having to learn how to swim through them without drowning. Mm-hmm. And so the first part addresses how what are those storms? And one of them is like when you have all, this anxiety that is, it affects your life because all these thoughts come to your mind and interrupt whatever you're doing, and you cannot control them. I wanted to write a poem about that, and I entitled this poem Intruders. And this is one of the things that, interfere in our life. Is one of the storms that come and you have to face and learn how to swim through without drowning. So I'm going to read this poem entitled Intruders. 8 a.m. I'm driving on I-45 north to work. 4 lanes packed with sleep-deprived commuters. A man with graying hair drinks his Starbucks while checking the Houston traffic on his GPS. A young brunette adds mascara to her already thick lashes between stops. I turn the radio and listen to the Rula and Ryan show. The weekend is on when an image flashes through my brain. My brother, lying unconscious inside his car, upside down like a tortoise, flipped onto its back, his leather seat soaked with blood. Are you okay? I type in WhatsApp, my eyes moving fast from road to phone back to road, till his words on the screen, yes, why, let go of the hand, crushing my chest. 1 p.m. I opened the door to my office. My classes went well. Students talked, laughed, and left without questions. I check my phone. I have 1 missed call. My son's school nurse. The message cuts off after the first 3 words. Hello, my name, blank. Silence follows and my head fills up with voices in panic. Something's wrong. Jackson is sick. But he wasn't this morning. Maybe he fell. Another kid hit him. What if he's hurt? He needs you. Why didn't you check your phone before? I called the number, my heart in my ears. I can hardly hear the nurse's request to bring an updated record of my son's shots for the current year. 7 p.m. It's time to cook supper. Cherry gum mixto with melted cheese and tuna using my mom's aioli recipe. The one I wrote in a post-it note that I can't find now. It's 2 a.m. in Spain. Mom is asleep, too late for a call. Then it happens. The kitchen vanishing, and I am in my head. The voice is coming like party crashers. What will you do when your mom is gone? Will you be able to tell her goodbye? Will she leave knowing her life was worthy? Who will tell you yours is too? Will home in Spain still be home? How will you feel her accents? Pain pours out of my eyes, a torrent I can't swim again. I can't stop them, the voices, the panic. forcing themselves in until I am forced out.
That's excellent. Wow.
Thank you.
So, what a good portrayal of what it's like to get sucked up in your head. And oh man, just what you were saying about making it craft, taking that personal stuff and then crafting it into something is beautiful. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. How do you feel that people have resonated with your book?
The ones that I have had the chance to talk to, they all have shown gratefulness.
Yeah.
Because I have shown my vulnerability. They come to me and they talk to me about them and about how I have been able. It's very interesting how being teaching here at Tomball for 15 years this year. And I am the kind of person who keeps to myself a lot, right? I know the people, but I don't talk to them very much, in part because, we're very busy, like teaching and going to meetings and all of that. But when I published my book, I had this kind of deep connection with a lot of colleagues that I had not had before. They came to me, they thank me, they share their part of their lives and, their bad moments. And we connected at a different level that I really enjoy. Because I'm the kind of person who enjoy deep connections. I'm not the kind of person who like superficial conversations. I like when I get to know people deeper. And I think that I noticed and I felt that people trusted me and wanted to take care of me and wanted to kind of listen to me and wanted to open up to me. And that kind of relationship, makes you feel that life is worthy and that, that you have a community and this is the same with my students, the few students who I have been able to talk to in relation to my book, oh my gosh, sorry, my book, they have all kind of come and talk to me and share their concerns, and I feel closer and they do better in my classes because they feel that they can trust me and that I'm a human being, not just someone who wants to kind of give them a grade, because it's not about, that is not what school is about. School is about learning and growing and about, also humanity, the humanity of people. So I think that it has been a very positive experience.
It is so cool. You talked about being inspired to write the book for students who didn't have a place to connect or to share and feeling alone in it. And then now on the other side of the book, you talk about how it's provided you and others so much connection and relationship and vulnerability and being known, and how that has brought you so much satisfaction and thriving. And so I think it's so cool to stand back and see that.
It is interesting how the more vulnerable we become, the stronger we become. It sounds like a paradox, but It is true. I was a little bit nervous at the beginning. It's I am, offering my raw heart, to the world, and not sure I'm comfortable about that. But then I realized that because of all the connection and support that I feel now, I'm stronger.
Yeah.
So that vulnerability has brought strength. And I think that, what I want to, one of the things that I wanted to achieve with my book is for younger people, things times are changing. So we are hearing more and more people talk about, mental issues, but still there's some kind of stigma. And I think that young people, especially because they want to achieve so much and they're scared of people rejecting them or being considered less than because of these mental issues, they kind of hide and they don't want to talk about it. And I want everybody to know that being vulnerable is part of the human experience, and indeed is the part of us that connects with others. And nobody should be scared of showing fear, showing anxiety, showing, what we in our society consider weakness, because it is indeed what makes us connect. And when we connect, we feel stronger, and when we feel stronger, we it's easier, to kind of develop strategies to deal with whatever mental issues we have. So, speaking, not to everybody, obviously, but speaking up and not hiding, I think is so important. Is the first step to begin to deal with these issues that are stopping you from achieving whatever you want to achieve and from reaching your full potential.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's really beautiful and freeing, and it just, it's really, really touching. You talked about a second book. So I'm curious, all this learning and all these experiences you have, what is the second book going to be about?
Well, it's interesting because it's something completely different, but not.
Okay.
So when I finished I finished this book, like the writing of this book, when I began to send it to the world, to see if publishing companies were interested in it. I was still during my sabbatical leave. So I was like, what do I do now? And I said, okay, I was in the mood of writing. And I was also, it was what I was doing. I told you before, like ideas were coming. I was writing poetry. So I began to kind of write other kinds of poems. So I found works of art and I looked at them. And then I wrote a poem inspired by that work of art. And it became like something, an activity, an exercise that I was enjoying a lot because I love art too. So I was looking for paintings that, I call my attention or made me made me react in an emotional way. And then I began to write about it. And I realized that I love that because I began to learn. I did a little bit of research into the works of art that I chose. So I read about the artist, the life of the artist, what inspired that work of art, if I could find information about it. If it was a very recent work of art, probably there was not so much information, or people like artists that are younger, so there's not so much about them. But then I left my imagination run, and then I found a poem to write inspired by that work of art. I wrote so many during that period of time that I was like, maybe I can put a book together on this topic. So I continued reading. So this happened in 2020 is 23. And I have written so many that I could put another book together. So I realized, at that time, I was not thinking about a book. So I was just picking up like works of art and writing. But then I realized that I had a common thread. That, of course, is kind of related to the book and feelings and life and dark moments and bright moments. And I realized that all of the poems and the works of art that I chose had this kind of like common topic of darker moments in our lives and lighter moments in our lives. And I realized that we cannot separate them. There's no light without a shadow. There's no shadow without a light. And working on that common thread, I kind of like created chapters in my book. And my book is going to be entitled From the Desert to the Valley of Your Life. And it's going to address that topic that there's how to learn how to live with the darker moments, because there will be more positive moments and we have to integrate both. And it's going to be like about that topic, but based on works of art. And my publisher is different from the publisher in my first book. My new publisher, which is Shanti Arts, LLC, has told me that she's going to include all the works of art that she can, that they are in the public domain. So I'm very excited about this book.
We are very excited about this book. That is so cool. I have just so enjoyed hearing your story and learning about your process. And I'm just so encouraged. I hope everyone will read your book, get a copy today. Before I let you go, would you read us one more of your beautiful poems?
Yes, of course. I think I'm going to read one that deals, it's at the end. So my book began with the storms in our life. The second part of my book deals with, unfortunately, when you kind of feel that you are in the middle of the storm and you're going to drown. So that second part of the book is a little bit darker. But then the third and last part of my book is more positive. It kind of like provides people with hope and with ways of dealing with, anxiety and depression. And the poem that I think I'm going to read is entitled How to Tame Wild Thoughts. And it's exactly like a manual of instructions of how to guide you through your anxiety and cope with it. So how to tame wild thoughts. Your mind knows no breaks. It works with when you read, when you write, when you teach, when you drive, when you walk, when you fly, when you cook, when you clean, when you shower, when you watch TV, when you talk. Even when you sleep, it jerks you up, makes you scream, cry, kick, and punch the air. Your mind never pauses. You are told, stop thinking, as if you could turn off your thoughts with a remote. You can learn how to tame them, though, these wild creatures. They like roaming over your body to find extra space and avoid trampling on each other. Sometimes they sit at the base of your skull till your head becomes too heavy. Other times, they dwell in the pit of your stomach and leave no room for food. If they sneak to your lungs, they steal part of your air. If they anchor in your back, your spine creaks and bends. They always make sure you know where they are. So draw and do puzzles to quiet your mind. Dance to shake the weight of your thoughts on your body. And turn your fidget spinner around and around till its whirring sound lulls them to sleep and sends them away like balloons thrown against a ceiling fan.
I love that. Your work brings such beauty to the stuff that a lot of us face every day. Mari Carmen, thank you for being on the show today. Your life and your vulnerability is a real inspiration to us all. We're so glad you're here at LSC-Tomball.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Robin. I mean, I was telling you before, you make me feel important.
You are. You are giving voice to a lot of things that people struggle to share. So thank you. For your work. Thanks for being in this space.
Thank you for allowing me to share, this book with you and my, experience here at Lone Star College.
Go get her book today. You won't be sorry.